Hello, my name is Christoph, and I want to introduce to you the Coding for Lawyers program that we set up here at the Dixon Poon School of Law of King's College London together with Codecademy. And in this little video, I want to talk you through the program and introduce the platform of Codecademy. So let's dive in directly. Here you can already see the Codecademy platform, and on it you can see the Coding for Lawyers pathway, which will be the dedicated pathway for you. So let's have a look at it. You can see the syllabus. We're going to start off, of course, with an introduction where we introduce to you the Codecademy platform, the way to operate it, and how to learn with it in the best possible way. And then we immediately going to start off with a programming language, which is one of the most popular ones, which is Python. It is very easy to learn and very, very versatile. And you can see that all the applications that we're going to go through throughout the program, from programming blockchains to programming price estimation algorithms and so on and so forth, will all be implemented by Python. So it is important to learn it, and it is fairly straightforward. We're going to start off with learning how to print stuff, how to operate with lists, how to manipulate variables, how to deal with functions, how to implement dictionaries, classes, files, and so on and so forth. And this is going to go through step by step without you having to have any prior knowledge. You're going to learn step by step ever more advanced techniques of programming. After that, we're going to have an introduction to cybersecurity, where again, you're not just going to learn about cybersecurity, but you are going to have a look at how cyber threats actually operate. You're going to learn the nuts and bolts of cryptography, of network security, authentication, authorization, and so on. This is going to come in handy at many instances. After that, we're going to have the basics of blockchain and distributed ledger with Python. Here, you're going to learn not just, again, about blockchain, but you're actually going to learn how to build your own blockchain in Python. Build your own mini blockchain in Python. This is going to be of an invaluable benefit to you, because after you have actually constructed and programmed a blockchain, this isn't just going to be a fancy word, that's running around, blockchain here, blockchain there, but suddenly you know what is actually meant by it. You have deconstructed and constructed one. And this is an incredible benefit, because very few people know what a blockchain is. You're going to know it. After that, we're going to dive into the very important topic of machine learning and deep learning, which is also called artificial intelligence. This is mainly a data science module, and you're going to learn a lot about that. It's not that hard as it sounds. You are going to learn how to program algorithms. You're going to learn about greedy algorithms, about regression, about classification, decision trees, perception, all wonderful things. Again, which is going to help you understand legal text, algorithmic justice. So many things you're going to learn from the basics, from first principles on. And after that, you're going to learn more about data structures and algorithms. This is wonderful stuff. But rather than just give you an overview, I also want to show you how you are actually going to learn things at Codecademy. And if you look at the introduction, you already see the three main methods via which you learn stuff at Codecademy. One is a video, which is fairly self-explanatory. You're just going to watch a video, but that's not going to be much. You're not going to sit watching videos for hours, but because you can do this by yourself by watching YouTube videos. This is not what we're after. There are articles, but the most important thing is the lesson. The lesson is the main method of teaching, and this is why we at King's College were so keen to partner up with Codecademy, because they're so good at constructing these lessons. So let's have a look at a lesson. Let's have a look at the first lesson you're gonna do when learning Python, and this is the Hello Law lesson. Here you can already see that in this window you have 3 columns. The left-hand column is a column where we're going to teach you stuff. We're going to learn things. There's going to be instructions. There are going to be lessons. You're going to learn stuff. We're going to convey information. But then you can immediately try out these informations and these lessons in the middle column, which is where you can enter code. This is actually a coding terminal. You can just write stuff here. And let's now try to run this code. If you run it here on the bottom, you see run. If you run it, you can see on the right hand side the output. Hello and welcome Hercules. And this is the output of this code. If you change, you can play around as much as you want. If you say this, if you copy it and paste it again, well, what you expect is going to happen, quite obvious, get it twice. If you change and malform the command to print, well, what you expect is going to happen? Of course, an error. This is fairly straightforward. You can play around, and if you know how to program and code, you can start coding away here. But here you have an instruction, so you're not just gonna go about, playing around. You can of course play around as much as you want, but at some point it's gonna get boring. So you need instructions, and here's the instruction, and it says change Hercules to your name. Let's do this. Let's put here Christoph, and then run, and again, of course, you see hello and welcome Christoph, and this allows you to move on. Now it's gonna get more complex, of course, but only, as I've said, step by step. So you're never going to be out of your depth. And if you're going to be out of your depth, there are methods and ways how to get unstuck. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Here it just says the instruction is documentation is an important step in programming. Write a comment describing the first program you want to write. Well, be creative. We're not going to be creative because we want to save time. So we're just going to write a comment which says comment. Now, you can see to the left of your instruction, there is a little gray box, which is gray now. Now, if you run it and have a look at this box, and if you've done what you were told, you're going to get a little green tick mark. And this is what you're going to be after in those lessons, because only if you've done all the tick marks and ticked all the boxes, you will be allowed to move on to ever more ever complex, ever complicated, not complicated, but ever more advanced coding techniques. So let's move back to show you also different lessons. So this has been, as I've told you, an introductory one, and then you step by step, it's going to get more complicated until, for instance, at some point when you move on to linear regression, it will be quite advanced. And here, for instance, you see how to do linear regression. You learn a lot about it, and here in the code you can already see, oh, that's rather complex. But the great thing is, as soon as you reach this stage, you are going to know what all these words, these colorful words mean. This is all going to be quite transparent to you, and that's the aim of it. You will have learned playfully how to deal with that. Here then in the instructions it just says run the code. Well, that's easy, we can do that. We're going to run it, we're going to get a little green tick mark, and then from eyeballing the graph, it says, do you think the revenue in month 13 would be? Enter an appropriate answer as the integer in the variable called month 13. Let's do this. Month 13 equals, and I think it's going to be 190 if you look at the graph. Bingo, that's correct. But what if you're stuck? Well, let's erase this and run it again. Okay, let's reset. Let's run it, and let's run it again. And so it says now we haven't entered anything. It gives you a dreaded, red X. But let's say we don't know what to do. Let's say you're stuck. You say, oh God, I got no clue what to do. You could either click get unstuck at the top right hand corner, and you have either a video or access to community fora or a concept review, Or you can actually click at the solution. If you run twice and get an X mark, you see a little view solution here, or you can also find the solution here, as I've said, view solution. But let's click here, and here you can see on the right hand side what you should have written. On the left hand side you see your code, and on the right hand side you see what you should have. And you can either keep your code and then, because now you know what to do, or you can replace with solution and then continue. Now, as I've said, I think lessons are just a wonderful tool to understand, to learn hands-on, to get ahead, being able to program. But it's not the only thing. We also have quizzes, of course, and we also have articles. And here we have an article, for instance, where you says why lawyers should code. You have a scroll down text. You have little interactive modules in these articles. You have videos, as I've said. You also have little modules inside where you have coding challenges or completion things. You can play around with stuff. There's certain examples for you explaining things to you. So you have just standard knowledge transfer. But here it says why lawyers should learn to code. I believe that lawyers should learn to code. I think you have a sense that lawyers should learn to code, because otherwise you wouldn't have an interest in this program. But let us listen to the great Steve Jobs, what he has to say about coding and the law.
To actually learn how to think. Because I think the greatest value of learning how to, I think everybody in this country should learn how to program a computer. Should learn a computer language, because it teaches you how to think. It's like going to law school. I don't think anybody should be a lawyer, but I think going to law school would actually be useful because it teaches you how to think in a certain way. In the same way that computer programming teaches you in a slightly different way how to think. And so I view computer science as a liberal art.
So I think that's a wonderful comment from Steve Jobs. And it allows us to conclude here and to thank you. And it allows me to thank you for your attention. And I'm very much looking forward, and I hope that this has been interesting. And I'm very much looking forward to welcoming you at the program Coding for Lawyers. Thanks a lot.